Welcome into Locked On Leafs. We got some interesting stuff to go over today. We got some practice updates going down on Mark Giordano and Colin Blackwell's first practice as Maple Leafs, and then we'll also tee up and preview the next-gen game tomorrow, which will be the first game for Gio and Blackwell. And then there's a real situation right now going on. There's potentially another trade, Dave, in the queue. It has not gone through yet. It has not been denied yet. And this is a sticky situation. We'll get into that and more on today's edition of Locked On Leafs.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm not going to lie to you, David. I was off for vacation for a week, and I almost forgot how we do those cold opens. I was like, what are we doing here? And then I just got right into it. But hello and welcome, everybody, to the Locked On Leafs podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother from TSN 1050's Overdrive and 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me is my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also writer for the NHLPA. Locked On Leafs is a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast, so be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from, and you can now catch us on YouTube as well. That'll be Locked On Leafs on YouTube. And hey, man, our march to 500 subs keeps climbing, and once we get to 500, we're doing a giveaway. So make sure that you're 500 subs if you are not yet to be included in that giveaway. A bunch of stuff to get to today, man. I mean, this is the first day that we got to see Giordano and Blackwell in Maple Leafs uniform on the ice at practice, and there's some updates on where they are. A little interesting to see where Mark Giordano ended up in the lineup. I kind of expected it. We'll get into it in a second. But tomorrow, or tonight, I suppose, the next-gen game between Leafs and Devils, New Jerseys. New Jerseys, Dave. We're going to talk about those. And then, like I was alluding, there's a sticky situation in Vegas right now with Evgenii Dadonov. Did he get traded? Did he not? Is there a holdup? Will it be voided? We'll dig into that a little bit more. But Dave, there's notes to get to through practice today.
Yeah, I mean, maybe first we talk about the fact that you're in a new situation right now. You are not in your normal basement of the house, or sometimes you're in your living room. Where are you right now?
I am in a hotel room at the Delta in Kitchener-Waterloo. I got the CHL top prospects game that I'm going to be coaching tonight, which is really interesting. I've never anticipated being a celebrity guest coach in a celebrity or in an all-star game, a prospects game, but here we are. But yeah, so they, I got to be there for morning skate in the morning. So they're like, yeah, if you want to grab a room, we'll put you up and you can come and whatever. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come up the night before, grab a room so that I can get there early for practice. And then, so here we are. So I'm in a hotel room, pretty swanky hotel room though. I got to say, Delta does it up nice. They do it up nice. They got like these, you can kind of see like the blue lighting in the background there. If I turn off this light, you can see a little better. See that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. I wonder though if there's a way to turn it off, because that'd be annoying to sleep with. I haven't figured it out yet. It's only been here for about 15 minutes, and then we logged on to record the podcast. So I'll let you know.
I'm always concerned about hotel Wi-Fi. So far, so good.
Yeah,
so
we're
that's
doing
a good
okay.
thing as well.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if we're gonna get, you're gonna be running your practice tomorrow for the game, but I found it quite. You're getting notes right now from Sheldon Keefe on everything you got to be handling at practice. I mean, to see how the defensive pairing shook out, I'm not too surprised when you saw the Rasmus Sandin injury, because when Giordano was traded, we were under the assumption that Rasmus Sandin was healthy and that would not be an issue. But now, with him out, you pretty much are slotting Giordano. You're pretty much exchanging Giordano for Sandin in the lineup right now, which makes the most sense given the situation the Leafs find themselves in.
Right. So for those who didn't see the practice lines today and what we're talking about, Mark Giordano, I think it was just assumed by a lot of people that Gio was going to come in and automatically team up with his old buddy, old pal TJ Brody, and doesn't seem to be the case, at least not for game one. I think eventually it will work its way into that. But with Sandin getting injured, with Muzzin already out, with them trading away Travis Dermott, all of a sudden there's kind of a lack of left shot defensemen. And if you're thinking about, yeah, there's the lines right there. If you're thinking about, flipping Brody to allow him and Giordano to get back together, now you're thinking, do we even have enough guy? Like, who's going to play the left side? Liljegren, Hall? Instead, they decide, you know what? Let's keep Brody and Hall together. Let's just play Brody and Giordano apart for now. Let Gio kind of work his way, acclimate himself to the new system, the new team, and see if he can build chemistry with somebody else. They already know that Brody and Giordano work. Maybe he can build something with Timothy Liljegren, and who knows? I think eventually, after a few games, kind of the way that Sheldon Keefe talked about and did with Lyubushkin, where at first he really wanted to ease him into it, and then eventually gave him top pair with Riley and gave him bigger minutes and bigger responsibilities. I think we'll see a similar situation here with Giordano, and then when Muzzin returns in roughly a week or two is when he's expected to, then I could see once they get that extra left shot defenseman back into the mix, then probably see Giordano and Brody get reunited again.
Yeah, and I also think too when you look at what's going to be the easiest thing for Jake Muzzin, right? Do you want him going back and getting into a pairing with Justin Hall, someone he's played a lot of time with? You want to make sure he's in a situation that's going to be easy for him, because people were wondering if it makes sense even to put Jake Muzzin into the lineup right away. Well, they're going to have to. They're going to have to rely on, because we do not know how long Sandin is going to be out. And you lose another defenseman, and guess what? Jake Muzzin all of a sudden then gets pushed up. So I think when he comes back, that's going to be a very interesting conversation of where he slides in, how many games they also expect him to play as soon as he comes back. So I think right now it's shaky past the three pairings, because their depth is, I mean, they had to call up as you saw, there was that name beside Jake Muzzin that people were just like, who was this guy? They had to call up a guy from U of T to even just fill in for practice today, because they simply just do not have anything beyond their top three, their three pairings.
Well, so keep in mind how the roster rules are for after the trade deadline, right? So you're unable to do call-ups. You only get 4 call-ups after
Yes.
after I keep saying all-star, after the trade deadline.
Exactly.
So wasting one just for a camp body doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So what they can do and what they've done for most of this year, as they've been a team that's really only carried 20, 21, or 19, 20, sometimes 21 players on their roster, is they've only gone and they've gotten a lot of these UFT or York players to just kind of be camp bodies. So we've seen this happen in the past. I don't think it has anything to do with depth, because
And we've seen forwards.
What's that?
We've seen forwards also play on defense. We've seen defensemen play up front as well if guys need a main day.
Right. So I don't think it's necessarily an indicator on the lack of depth on the blue line, because you could easily bring up Joey Dusick or Kiva Halme, who did get call-ups yesterday just because they did that. I'm not sure what the implications were. In case they were going to put someone on LTIR, I think they want to get to as close to the cap as possible. They didn't end up doing that, and so they ended up putting him down. But I look at the lineup, and the question that you asked that is worth having is, do you want to see Muzzin and Hall back together, like fully healthy? If Lyubushkin works with Riley, and then you do it eventually, as I think we all anticipate, putting Giordano and Brody back together, well, now that leaves the third pair. What are you going to do? Are you going to have Muzzin as your third pair left shot defenseman? Probably. And then you're going to either put Justin Hall right now, and then if Sandin's healthy, possibly he fits into the mix there. And then obviously there's Timothy Liljegren as well. So you're going to have a few options once everybody is healthy. But for now, I think once Muzzin gets back, I think he plays every night. You got to get him going, up and running, and get him as much playing time and get back to midseason form as quick as possible before the playoffs get here. And I don't feel as a second pair, it didn't work. Muzzin and Hall, it just didn't work against second pair shutdown minutes against tough competition. It just wasn't really working. But as a sheltered third pair, it could. I think that it could potentially have some legs there, and maybe it doesn't look as bad as it did earlier in the season, and we could see that potentially being a pretty solid third pair. Like I look at the defense, and when fully healthy, this is one of the best defense that the Leafs have actually been able to put together in quite some time.
Oh, definitely. And you know what? We know Sheldon Keefe likes to tinker things around. You can do a Muzzin Brody pairing for all like he did
You
that at
could,
one point this season.
yep,
I think what this Giordano trade does, it just expands the options you could do. You're not married to one specific thing.
yeah.
And too often I feel like Sheldon Keefe just had to go with what worked. And now this is the time where I know you don't want to experiment too much, but you also have to see what works down the stretch, because in the playoffs, you do not want to be tinkering. You want to make sure everything is set in stone as much as possible.
Yeah. Do you have that alter tweet still kind of queued up there? I'm not sure if you do or if you got out of it. It's no worries if you don't. But on the power play featured Mark Giordano as well. He's now manning the point on PP2 with Rasmus Sandin going out. It was Brody when Sandin was sick for a couple of weeks there, but now obviously you bring in a guy who's excellent power play type player. You see it right there for watching on YouTube. One of the benefits of YouTube, you do get these perks of seeing things visually. So PP2 has two new additions. You've got Colin Blackwell, who's sitting in the bumper role, and then Mark Giordano manning the point. So now you got Bunting, Mikheyev, Spezza, Blackwell, and Giordano. So with Kasha going out too, Blackwell, I think, is going to be a beneficiary of getting those opportunities, on the power play. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens if Kasha comes back from that injury, to see who remains on the power play. Will it be Mikheyev or Blackwell? I would assume that it would be between those two to fight it out, whoever ends up putting up a better showing. But looks like the new trade, you're already going to see, benefits, not just at 5-on-5 and defensively, but looks like they're also going to give you some depth and some new options on the power play too, which is good to see.
I also think that if you're a guy like Alexander Kerfoot, seeing Colin Blackwell get in that power play spot, I think that should light a little bit of a fire under you. And also Wayne Simmons, who's trying to get back into the lineup. I don't know if you saw that clip in that real battle in front of the net he had with Michael Bunting.
Yes.
Or
you don't think that he feels the heat right now?
like I like this also this is a point in time where I think like those who are on the bubble of opportunity in this lineup really need to get a little. This is something I think Sheldon Keefe might be also doing by design, to get some of these guys to understand the severity of their situation. Like I don't think Wayne Simmons expected at this point in the season to be on the outside looking in, and I don't think a lot of Leafs fans, considering what Wayne Simmons brings and kind of something different, it's not happening right now.
Well, they went out and got someone who brings a little bit of edge, that brings some of that Wayne Simmons-esque play to the team in Colin Blackwell. So, and he is right now slotted in on the fourth line and expected to play with Kerfoot. Or not Kerfoot. Kerfoot was brought back up to the second line. So hopefully he can bring a little bit of his game back into it. But so he's going to join. Who was on the fourth line there? Sorry, I can't remember. It was Spezza, Blackwell, and did Simmons get back onto the fourth line?
Oh man,
With the injury to Kasha? It may have been Simmons back there with the injury with Kasha's injury.
It was.
Because Robertson was sent down.
Yes, it was Simmons. So for Simmons, like he was also supposed to be on the power play, right? Net front guy, he's not there either. I think, and like this is this opportunity, right? Nick Robertson is a call away, and we know that. I think they want to get him going. I think it says something that he wasn't traded at the trade deadline. Like this is something that the Leafs want to see make that call for them to get him back into the lineup and make an impact. So and I think Wayne Simmons got the message quite clear after they celebrated his 1000th game. He's up in the press box. So I think it's to say something.
Yeah. All right. Up next, let's chat a little bit about the game tonight against the New Jersey Devils. There's some new uniforms that we got to discuss. And also the fact that Sheldon Keefe didn't name a starter is interesting. So now we get to discuss who we would start if we had the whistle around our neck, which is something I will have tonight, tonight in the top prospects game in Kitchener. And then also, like, what are our expectations of Giordano and of Colin Blackwell? We'll answer those questions, get to the Dadonov stuff as well. And that'll all be coming up shortly. But before I get to all that, got to tell you about one of today's show sponsors, and it's a new show sponsor. Thank you for joining the Locked On Network. It is Hellofresh. With Hellofresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Look, HelloFresh, it's fantastic. It has fit and wholesome recipes for satisfying and nutritious meals that you can feel good about, with 6 recipes per week to choose from, including low-calorie and carb-conscious options. And hey, HelloFresh offers the flexibility you need to easily customize your order online or in the app, easily change your delivery day, your food preferences, your plan size, or skip a week whenever you need to. HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the same quality, and you can save on average over $65 per month when you order HelloFresh instead of grocery shopping. That's money back in your pockets. You could definitely go to HelloFresh.com/LockedOn16 and use the code LockedOn16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. We're going to feed you for over 2 weeks. It's going to be fantastic. Go to HelloFresh.com/LockedOn16, and it is America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh. Welcome back in Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano. We got Dave Morassutti alongside me, the co-host here at Locked On Leafs. It is a daily Maple Leafs podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. You can also check us out up on YouTube. I am chewing my tongue off right now here, Dave. It was a new ad read, but hey, let's get back into it because there's a big game tonight. Leafs, Devils, next gen. It's a next-gen game, but I don't think Mark Giordano is considered a next-gen type of player. He's more of a throwback kind of guy. But before we get into the game and talk about all that, we got some new jerseys for this game. And it's an interesting jersey. You talk about next generation. There's nothing more next-gen to me than when it comes to, like, fashion. You know, generational fashion is truly fascinating. And the Leafs have done something that no other pro sports league, no other pro sports team has ever done before. Do we have visuals of these? Okay, let's pull these up. Let's pull these up here on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening via audio, go check them out also on Twitter. They'll be on Twitter as well. But so the ones on the left, they are black and blue Maple Leafs uniforms. These are the ones that they're going to be wearing. So it's black with a blue Maple Leaf and then blue stripes on the side. They look super duper sharp. I think these are excellent jerseys. Much better than the ones that they wore at the Heritage Classic. And then they are reversible, which is a new wrinkle that has never been done before in pro sports. It is a reversible jersey. And on the other side is a Justin Bieber-inspired Drew Leafs jersey. I think this is super, super cool, man. Like the Drew one it's still got the black, like the Maple Leafs, the other side, I suppose. But then it's got a big Maple Leaf. And then inside is a smaller Maple Leaf with a couple of eyeballs. And instead of a smiley face like the Drew logo, it says Leafs. And that's what makes the smile, the word Leafs. And it's just like a really cool yellow and black color. I think these are sweet, man.
Yeah, you know what? At first glance, we saw the leak. I mean, we talked about this not too long ago.
Martha Stewart leaked the black ones. Yeah, she leaked the black ones, the ones that they're actually going to be wearing in game, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
But the fact I didn't realize that they were reversible and that there was like another surprise to come out, and it did, and I appreciate them.
Yeah, I think the kids are gonna really like this too. Like, this is something that's cool for the younger crowd as well. I get it if you're not a fan of black Leaf jerseys. I totally get it. It's something new. At the same time, you know what? I at first glance, you always have to kind of give it a minute to digest, right? The idea of something new. I don't hate it because it's different than the stuff we had before. I always said the low bar was those reverse retro jerseys from last year. Nothing could be worse than doing gray and blue. So I think the black, it's new, it's different. I think of it to like when the Raptors were doing the collaboration with Drake, right? The OVO stuff. Like, this is the Leafs trying to get into that trendy crowd, trying to get into the collaboration there. I don't mind this. And I think the reversible part is pretty cool. It's just a little more value for those who are looking to get a new jersey. You got two different options you can go with. Can't say that ever in pro sports, as you said. And I think the black look, again, when you see the Leafs with it, I think there was a video of Austin Matthews showing it off in the to himself. Him and Marner were showing the jerseys off, and there's a full picture of Matthews with the fit for the game against New Jersey. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I'm not totally like this is the greatest thing ever, but I'm not the person that's going to go, this is an abomination either.
All right. If you're grading this on a 100-point scale, what are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a 75.
I like them a little more than you. I give this might give this like an 86, man.
86. That's a pretty solid number.
I like them a lot though. Like blue and black is pretty sharp together. And what I do appreciate and what I like a lot too is if you look at it, it's not really I don't want to say it's camo, but it's almost like water, like a
The effect of it is different. It's not full blue on that jersey. It's almost
right. There's like blue and black. And like I said, it's not like a camo,
can
but they
zoom in a
like
little
collide together almost like water in a
bit.
way. Like it just looks really cool. I like that design. And to me, it looks pretty sweet. And then the fact that they're reversible and the Drew one looks pretty sick itself too. I think these are quality jerseys, man. Like I would wear one of those like out in public, and I'm not a jersey guy. Like I'm not, but I would toss one on and go to a game. I would.
I'd be curious to see how many people do buy. I think the price tag is a little bit more than a normal jersey, which
You're
not
getting two for the price of one.
yeah, it's not surprising. People are like, "Oh, why is this one more expensive?" Well, yes, one, it's reversible, and two, it's a specialty jersey. It's not
Right.
like I you got to understand the economics of it, people. It's not the same as what you would buy during the season.
No. So these are sweet. I'm a big fan of them. Dave is a lukewarm fan of them, and we will all get to see them in the game tonight against the New Jersey Devils. But why don't we get to what the on ice product might look like for tonight? I think the most interesting storyline that we kind of got to talk about is what we have yet to discuss today, which we spent a majority of the last 3 months talking about, and that's goaltending. Sheldon Keefe didn't name a starter today after practice, which is kind of surprising. He's been pretty good when it comes to naming starters. And on Leafs Lunch today, I was chatting with Jonas Siegel while Sheldon Keefe was speaking. So he didn't, unfortunately, I kept him from the availability, but we saw some stuff leaking out. And when we mentioned it, that he didn't name a starter, he was like flabbergasted. He's like, really? He's like, that's not Keefe's style. And I wonder if that just speaks to how kind of confusing this goaltending situation is, where it's like, okay, now we weren't able to get Sateri through waivers. We got to bring Marazzick back. Källgren just lost his first game against, the Preds. It wasn't a terrible performance. It was a loss to give up 5. The lusters fades a little bit after that. So you're going into this game against the Devils, and it's like, okay, what do we do? I think he seriously feels like there's no right decision, like nothing that stands out to him, and he needs to sleep on it because I don't think he knows starting goal for this game. He wants a full night's rest and hopefully wakes up and has an epiphany about who to start. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts? Did you read into this at all? Or, if you want to suggest who you think should start, you can also jump right to that.
Yeah, like this is a really, really tough one because the Leafs have had a lot of time off between the last few games. So like Sheldon Keefe has had quite a bit of time to kind of think about this. I think maybe they were waiting to see what happened after the trade deadline, whether Mrazek cleared or not. I think that was something that was a factor in this. And if you heard him talk about Mrazek being placed on waivers, and he kind of said to Mrazek, I think it says something, like he said in his conversation with him, I think it says something that you weren't claimed by anybody in the league.
Yeah.
Like, I think they want to get Marazzick back in the net. I look at their next few games. I mean, I would rather put him in. I would say this. I would rather put him in against the Devils than against the Habs, Panthers, and Bruins that are coming up after the Devils game. The Devils on the second half of a back-to-back. Like, does he deserve to go in the net? Absolutely not. Erik Källgren, I think, still, in my mind, deserves it. I just think if Sheldon Keefe is really contemplating putting him in, I think this game against the Devils is the one that you would consider it. Now, some will say, well, why don't you put in the better goaltender and get almost not the guarantee, because there's really no guarantee right now with the Leafs goaltending.
Yeah.
But maybe you just take the fact that the Devils are a beatable team in the Leafs' eyes, and you just want to make sure that you get that result.
After 4 games, not even like 3 games in a period, can you definitively say that Källgren's the better goalie? Like, that's the thing too.
That's a tough one. And,
like he's played okay, he's played well, but he's coming off of a loss in his worst performance that he did have. It wasn't like there was a lot of softies, but still. So what's it going to look like a few days later? And now that there's been like extra rest, how's he going to feel in that game? Like he hasn't done that before. I'll say this though, Petr Mrazek, last time that the Leafs played the Devils, it was a back-to-back, if you recall, home and home.
Yes.
Mrazek didn't technically get a start. He was supposed to, but he didn't. Jack Campbell started the first game and got lit up in the first period. And then old Petr had to come in, clean up the mess, and actually ended up holding on and allowing the Leafs to come back and win the game. And he played really, really well in like the 40 minutes that he played. It might even be more than that. Maybe it was midway through the first period, if I remember. But he played well in that performance. And then because he had played in that game, they decided to go back to Campbell. So he didn't get the next game, and Campbell played well in that game as well. That was right before Christmas, or maybe it was even right before the All-Star game. One of the two.
It was before the All-Star game.
Okay, before the All-Star break. And then, so like the last time that Marazzick played him, he played well. So could that be a kind of the tipping point if you're Sheldon Keefe, where you can't figure out who you want to put in, but you do know that, Mrazek did have a good outing against the Devils earlier this year. Maybe you do put him out there.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he's really thinking about this means he's really thinking about putting Mrazek in.
Yes.
I just think that if
if it was Källgren, he probably would have said Källgren. But if it's Mrazek, he's like, I'm gonna think on a little more before I really pull the trigger here.
And let's just say, people, that when this episode comes out, we'll put it up a little bit earlier. Don't be on us, at 11 a.m. or 12 whenever the game the lineup's announced. It's like, oh, they're going. Like, we know. This is the thing about doing these with the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
We ain't reacting to this live. This is
especially on YouTube, right? Especially on YouTube, we'll get people all the time commenting like, "Oh, you idiot! This is what's happened. How come we're not talking about this?" It's like, well, we're recording this right now, 10:30 on Tuesday, March 22nd.
We wait as late as we can to record.
Right. Like, if anything happens after that, like, I'm sorry, the podcast was already released. I apologize.
That's why you have Mike on the radio when he does his Leafs lunch.
There's also that, which you can check out every day at TSN 1050, 12 till 2. But yeah, it'll be curious to see who ends up getting the nod tomorrow night. Will it be Källgren for his 4th straight, or Mrazek get his first start in a couple of weeks? I don't know. We'll see. Like, Mrazek hasn't started a game since before I went on vacation. Like,
I mean, the last game
I was away. Like, the whole time I was away, so was he.
Yeah.
So was he.
Maybe he was waiting for you. Maybe Sheldon Keefe was waiting for you to get back.
Maybe. We'll see.
Probably not.
Let's take one more quick break. When we get back, I do want to get your thoughts on maybe the expectations that you have on Gio and Blackwell tonight, and then we'll get into this Evgenii Dadonov deal a little bit as well. But before we do, why don't you tell us about our good old pals at Built Bar?
Yes, Built Bar. One of those few candy bars that have a protein infused marshmallow. Yes, you heard that correctly. They're fluffy like a marshmallow, but they're not just a protein bar. They're a treat. They're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy, cinnamon, churro, coconut, marshmallow, banana, cream pie. So good. These are going to be your new favorite. As I said, all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, low calorie, high protein. You can replace your candy bar with these. They're typically even much healthier than a candy bar, which could be between 2 to 300 calories. So if you go to built.com, scroll down to the macros chart, you'll be blown away by all the stats. I was too when I saw it for the first time. So go to built.com, okay? Use the promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Reminder, that's LOCKed15 for 15% off at built.com. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know about you, they pull it off every time. I will introduce this because I see you want to take some water here, so I'll let you do that. Welcome back to the Locked On Leafs podcast. David Morassutti here with Mike DiStefano, who is in Kitchener right now. You got this top prospects game, so I think I'm gonna have to get in a ringer for the Leafs Devils game, aren't I? Or are you guys
First
gonna
of all,
find a way to get it?
free hotel water. Dope. That's
Free?
awesome.
You sure about that? You better make sure about.
Oh boy. Yeah, you're right. I don't know about that. I'm assuming, but guess what? It's not on my company card, buddy. So I
Just
don't think there's
putting
a
that
mini.
out there.
There's no
Wow,
mini
what a
fridge.
flex.
There's no mini fridge in here. Oh, there could be a mini fridge over there. Actually, should I go check? Should I go check really quick?
You should go check because I feel like the water, if they give you a bottle of water, it's usually free. You're usually free and clear of that. I mean, Mike, you also just came back on a vacation where everything was kind of pampered and handed to you. So I feel like you'll be safe here.
Yeah, no mini bar. No mini bar,
Okay.
unfortunately, or
I
fortunately.
Maybe that's why they give you the water because there is no mini fridge. And usually that's what hotels do.
Yes, exactly. The question you were asking me before, though, about the game, yeah, what really does it's the one thing that that actually sucks about the game tonight, the top prospects game that I'm going to be coaching in, is the fact that I actually won't be able to watch tonight's game against the Leafs. I'll have to watch it afterwards or watch like the condensed game. So I'm not really going to be able to watch the full thing live because I'll be a little preoccupied.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, your TSN gig is an important one. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't know if we'll see how many times we'll see good old AB behind the bench. So I don't blame you at all. It's not something
Yeah,
I'm not used to.
I'll be coaching against Shane Wright and Matt Savoy. So I'm they're enemies to me right now. Connor Geeky is going to be my guy tomorrow. Also, I think is it Will Furcus? I think Furcus is my dude as well. I'm excited to
Better
see
make
what
sure
he
that
can
name's
try.
right because he's gonna chirp you if you get that wrong.
I can tell you in 6 seconds if that is the correct name that I was looking for. I know that's Furcus. I think his name is Will Furcus, but it is nope. Sorry, oh that is not his name. He's a WHL. He's a WHL guy. So obviously his name isn't normal. It's Jagger Furcus.
Wow. All
Yeah,
right. See, it's gonna be
Luke
names like
Jaw.
that. You better be ready for it. This is why we're doing this now, so you have time afterwards to really prep for this.
Yeah, I don't know why I said Will. I knew it was Jagger because I was literally looking at my notes and looking at like my lineups earlier today. I brain fart there. But it should be a fun one. Should be a fun game. But like I said, the thing that sucks is that I won't actually be able to watch the game in real time where it'll be the first viewing of Mark Giordano and of Colin Blackwell. But Dave, what are your expectations going to be on those two on night one?
I kind of think Giordano. Some was like you don't want to throw too much at him. The guy's 38 years old. He's been in the NHL for 16 seasons. I think you'll be okay if you want to lean on with him a little bit and he's had today to practice. He'll have the morning skate. So it's not like he's coming into this blind. I mean, we've seen guys who get traded and they're trying to get these guys in the lineup almost the next day. He's at least had the day to kind of digest everything. So it'd be very interesting to see how much Sheldon Keefe plays him, where he plays him, especially. I think with Timothy Liljegren, they might benefit from, a few offensive zone starts. I feel like Brody and Hall will continue to get a lot of those defensive zone starts that we've seen. So I think that's one way you can help Giordano kind of get acclimated, get him in the right situations here and there. And with Blackwell, I mean, it's just going to be make sure that you build some chemistry on that fourth line, because that's likely where he's going to end up for the rest of the season. Potentially. I don't want to staple. Yeah, it's hard to not name exactly, but can he play second line? Because I don't know if they're going to want to break up that third line. That third line kind of just seems
No. That's what I mean. Like it's probably second line or fourth line for Colin Black. But like to say that, he's a guy who's going to be stapled onto the fourth line, I don't think. There's a strong possibility that if through 40 minutes, that second line, which has been very quiet, especially of late when Kerfoot was on there. I mean, Kerfoot was playing with the fourth line for quite some time, right? They had Robertson there, then they put Kasha there, and now he's back with a couple of, Robertson to the minors, and Kasha's injured. So they're like, okay, I guess we got to put Kerfoot back. I mean, if through 40 minutes that second line ain't doing squat, I could see him maybe toying with Colin Blackwell and tossing him up there and seeing what he could do with Nylander and JT. I mean, he's someone who does a lot of the same things that Michael Bunting does and that Zach Hyman did. I'm not saying that he's either of those two and is going to be, like a 40, 50 point guy, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets a look at some point on that second line, and it could be earlier than expected if they struggle again tomorrow, or tonight rather, against New Jersey.
No, that's fair. I know, totally fair. I mean, that second line does need. That's the biggest concern I've had, other than the goaltending, post trade deadline. So very, very fair for that, definitely.
Let's chat a little bit about this Evgenii Dadonov situation. We only got a couple more minutes here, and then we'll jet. So I'll explain what's going on, and then we can kind of just discuss it. So Evgenii Dadonov is with Vegas. He was traded there in the summer. They traded him yesterday, apparently at like 2:59, like legitimately the last second. They sent him to the Anaheim Ducks along with a second-round pick for Ryan Kessler and John Moore, I believe was the deal that was made. Then there was some rumblings at that trade. There were some issues there. And Vegas tweeted out, like, there could be some issues with the trade. This is why we're not announcing it. And then all the insiders around like 10, 11 o'clock last night were like, yeah, there's some problems with this deal. So apparently Dadonov had a no trade clause, or a limited no trade, when he had signed with Ottawa a couple of years ago. And when he was dealt to Vegas, they're claiming that they did not know about this no trade clause and that the Sens failed to provide them with one when the trade went through. And I guess Anaheim was on this no trade list. So when the player's agent caught wind that this deal was going down, he was like, I don't think so. The Anaheim Ducks are his no-go list. And they're like, what are you talking about? We weren't aware that he was on this list. We did not receive any such list. And pretty much tried pointing fingers at the Senators. The Senators are denying it, saying we absolutely sent it. So could this be an issue with the registry not fully doing their due diligence and sending things off? So now you got the registry looking into it. You have the league offices looking into it. The NHLPA is looking into it. But according to Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider Darren Dreger, he's hearing that there's possibilities that this deal could end up getting voided based on all the complications that are occurring. If Dadonov, in fact, doesn't want to go to Anaheim, he certainly does not have to, because he earned the right to get to sign a limited no trade, and he earned the right to choose not to go to Anaheim, and they can't force him there if they don't want to because of that no trade clause. And now there's a situation where there are implications here if that deal does not go through.
Yeah, this is such a bizarre situation, and one that if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, oh boy, like this is not a good thing for them because they were clearly using this move to get some guys back off of injured reserve. So we haven't seen a situation similar to this, I think, since Patrick Berglund when he was traded from St. Louis to Buffalo.
Yeah.
That ended up with him retiring because he did not want to go to Buffalo at all. And so, like, I think in in Dadonov's situation, he has, I think he's in a better spot because Ottawa and even Elliot Friedman said that this was submitted before he got traded to Vegas. So like that, this is a situation where the player isn't at fault for all of this. This is really on the parties involved with getting this no trade list sorted out.
Yeah.
Vegas will likely try their best to claim that they had no clue about this no trade list. I would assume that they're kind of right on that because let's say Ottawa got that list, Vegas wasn't on there. Okay, we'll trade you to Vegas. That's not a problem. We don't have to really worry about that. But at the same time, if you're Vegas, the contract deals, like the details state that he has a no trade clause. So you have to think that he has like something like that has to be to be considered if you're moving him again.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, if you don't know what teams are or aren't on that, like that's on you to know.
Yeah.
Like, I think Vegas is most at fault here, to be honest with you.
Definitely.
Like, even if the Senators, let's say that they didn't send it on time or it got lost somewhere in the shuffle and they didn't receive it, it wasn't like it was public information that Dadonov had a no trade,
Literally
right?
at
Like,
the time he signed that deal, we knew he had a no trade.
well, not only that, but like anytime if they were discussing with any team about a trade, I mean, like just the fact that it was very public knowledge, not at the time, but I could have logged on to Cap Friendly or Puckpedia 3 days ago and saw on that website, yeah, he's got a no trade. So they're gonna have to talk to him to see which teams are there. Because if they didn't think if they didn't know he had a no trade or they didn't know what teams, I mean, that's just them not doing their jobs at the end of the day. So for them to claim, oh, we didn't receive any type of no trade list from Ottawa, it's like, well, that may be the case, and that very well might be. But you knew, I knew, anybody who was spent the last 6 months perusing Cap Friendly or Puckpedia knew that this guy had a no trade. How is it possible that you did not know?
That's also partly on the club for not even being in talks with the agent. Hey, we're planning to move your client.
Yeah.
Sometimes agents get wind of that their client's being traded because the teams will kind of let them know.
Right.
So yeah, I think Vegas deserves to be in the situation that they're in. First off, everybody talks about all these deals and all these guys they brought in. Look at Jack Eichel, Mark Stone. Guess what? That comes with consequences because now you're trying to move away and Evgenii Dadonov, who isn't a bad player. Like this isn't a player that this is
He's a
just a player
20 goal scorer.
yeah, like this is a guy who's been actually pretty good recently. He's been on a bit of a goal streak, and they're just moving him because they simply do not have the ability to ice the roster that they want to in the regular season. It's just simple as that. Because we've been talking about, if you listen to anybody talk about the Jack Eichel situation, it's always been, how are you going to get this team to be cap compliant when the time comes? And right now, we starting to see the cracks in Vegas's plan to get this done. You know what? They could have easily gotten that Dadonov trade done if they just followed one simple direction. Make sure you actually can trade them to where you plan to move them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little bit laughable, but at the same time, I do feel a bit for the player as well because now
I feel for the player. Absolutely, I feel for the player because even though, like, if this trade does end up getting voided, he's got to go back to Vegas. And like, it's not that he's going back to Vegas knowing that they didn't want him, but now he's going back to Vegas, and now the team is like, you screwed us over by not letting us make this deal and not allowing us to activate. I mean, again, we don't know if that was the case. Optically, it looked like, maybe Mark Stone is ready to come off of LTIR, and perhaps who else they have on LTIR right now? Max Pacioretty,
Alec Martinez.
Alec Martinez is
That's
there.
reportedly that's who they want to get back into the lineup.
Okay, so there it is, right? So Alec Martinez, a guy who has been out for quite some time, and they wanted to bring him back up, and the only way they could do that is by moving out that, what's he making, $5 million, I want to say?
Just over that, yeah.
The Dadonov, yeah. So, he's making quite a bit of money. So by moving that out, they would have been able to make that roster move, and now you can't. And this is where it gets really tricky, because if Alec Martinez if he seemed healthy enough to play, healthy enough where you're going to trade away a decent player just to make the cap room work him into the lineup, what, today all of a sudden is he no longer going to be ready to go into the playoffs? And I don't want to use the circumvention word because I got in trouble earlier today with Darren Dreger. Did you listen to that hit by chance? I don't know.
I caught wind of it.
Yeah, so he didn't appreciate the fact that I brought up that this is a possibility that could happen. And all I was getting at, I think there was a little miscommunications there, but all I was getting at is if you look optically, you read between the lines, if they're willing to move out of getting to bring in a guy where they can increase their LTIR space, that probably means that they're ready to bring LTIR and they need that cap space. Or else why would you make that move? You know what I mean? So in my eyes, I'm like, they're not making that move, or if they can't make that move and they can't magically open up that space, does that now mean that can't come off of waiver or can't come off of LTIR? Or is the league going to be hard on them and be like, listen, this player, good to go. So you got to figure out a way to get cap compliant. And what Darren Dreger said to me was, which we hashed things out. He got to answer my question, I think. He said, keep an eye on the waiver wire. Could be interesting over the next couple of days here, maybe a week or so for they need to get cap compliant over the next little bit.
Another situation where they're going to be potentially playing shorthanded, like they did at one point last year.
Well, here's the funny part. They had to give up a pick, I guess, to move to Dadonov. Now they were getting some LTIR space in return of that as well. Is that a track that you think anybody's just going to pick up off the waiver wire? I don't know. Is it going to have to be someone a little bit more enticing for them to pick a contract up off the waiver wire? That's what if they don't get him? Then can they still make that type of move? I don't know, man. I don't know, because if this trade doesn't go through, this trade is voided, it really does get murky for the Vegas Golden Knights on a couple of levels. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
I am just going to be popping my popcorn and watching it all play out.
Yeah. It's even Petr right now, Leonard's on IR, Riley is on IR.
If you look at their IR situation too, it's almost like right now Cap Friendly has it as Kessler there. It's like $26 million in LTIR. I could at least say in confidence the Leafs never got to that point. When you talk about cap shenanigans, the Leafs never got close to that.
Well, so funny. We mentioned this because in Joe Sakic's availability yesterday, he made sure to say afterwards that we're done with all our moves cap compliant without having to use LTIR. Made sure that he said we are fully cap compliant without cheating. Basically, is what he said. Remember the comments last year? It may have been Vegas. It wasn't Vegas who said it. Who did the Bolts beat? And they said, well, yeah, they're way over the cap. So who did they beat? I can't even remember.
Man, I know who you're talking. I know. I have it in my head of who that team could be. Oh man, yeah, I know, because they asked, "How do you feel about losing to Tampa and all that?" And they're just like, "Well, it'd been nice if we could actually have the same." It might have been Rob Rindabor after the Hurricanes. I think it was the Hurricanes.
Actually, you know who was? I think it was Dougie Hamilton of the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
I believe it was Dougie Hamilton who made that comment. Yeah, you're right. I think that's who said it. And so
Didn't it
I
ring
thought it
so
was kind of
muscular?
funny. Yeah, Joe Sakic kind of with that little subtle dig. It's like, yeah, we're cap compliant without having to use LTIR. Just
I'll
had to make
also
sure you
add
got
this,
that in.
add a little bit of gas to the fire that is the Golden Knights. They lost 4-0 to the Winnipeg Jets, who are
Oh,
right behind them in the standings.
it's not even a guarantee that that team makes the playoffs with their goaltending situation. It really isn't. So you add the fact that Robin Leonard's hurt, their captain Mark Stone is apparently going to be out for the rest of the year. This Dadonov trade has everything kind of in flux. Pacioretty's on IR, he's not playing. Riley Smith is on IR, he's not playing. Man, it is an interesting situation right now in Vegas, and dude, Sin City. Sin City. Everything happens in that city. They had a great ride, and now it's like, okay, now you're in a situation after making all these fun trades and signings. Well, here comes the hard part about being a fan base and being a GM. It's not all fantasy. It's not all fantasy, and there's going to be some tough decisions that might have to be made if this trade indeed does end up getting voided. But that's a situation that we're definitely going to have to monitor. And I know that all of NHL teams are definitely going to be this because, I mean, even the teams who are in the playoff hunt with them are going to be monitoring it because it's like, well, there's no way that you're going to get away with this. No, not happening. Not happening. No siree. So should be an interesting couple of weeks here for the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, Dave, let's wrap things up for today's podcast. It's going to do it for us. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow the show at Locked On Leafs. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow night, recapping the game against the Devils. I don't know if I'm going to be much use to you because I'm not going to watch the game.
I think I'll be calling in. I'll be calling in from the the bullpen. I'm not going to say the minors.
Yeah, we
Our
might need
guests
to.
are not minor league. They're
No,
major league caliber. So I think I'll be okay. I'll make a few calls, calling a few favors.
I don't know if Tony might be watching the game too, the
I'm gonna
All-Star
have,
game.
yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna say, are you picking Gio or are you picking the top prospects? Let's see where
I'm
this
gonna
goes.
go ahead and say that like one of the main prospect writers for like Sports Illustrated, the hockey news, like he's definitely going to be watching the prospects game. It's strong convictions on that one, but I'm sure we'll find somebody to help you out for tomorrow's show. So you'll be there tomorrow. I will return for the show on Friday. Friday we'll be back, and it'll kind of get us into the weekend. So it should be a fun one. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On.